It's a NUBSizing. It's a NUBSizing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Live Stream.
Hey,
I'm Dee
everybody.
Arndell, your host, and this is my wonderful co-host, Mr. Scott Free. What's up, Scott?
Hey, doing good. Hey, everybody.
This has been some week. So we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna try to keep it to an hour. The first part is international community is starting to stand up. What? Finally, right?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's a good
Well,
first step.
let's see if they actually do something, right? And just a brief mention, the ICJ hearing, China accuses Israel of war crimes at the ICJ. It's on Times Now World, and the link is in the show notes. But let's move on to our first story. So Britain, France, and Canada threaten Israel with concrete sanctions if Gaza war is not halted. President Donald Trump and senior staff greet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Monday, April 7th, 2025, in the West Wing lobby of the White House. Ann Arbor informed consent. Britain, France, and Canada issued a statement on Monday demanding that the Israeli government of Benjamin Netanyahu cease its military campaign against the people of Gaza and halt its months-long blockade of food and medical aid, which has left the Strip on the verge of widespread famine. The three threaten Tel Aviv with concrete steps should it fail to do as they insist. The three NATO powers went further than a 22-nation petition to Israel to halt its food and aid blockade issued on Monday, which they also signed. The other 19 countries apparently declined so far as to demand an end to the war as well. Well, I think this is kind of good news.
It is. I mean, again, asking NATO for anything good is a little kind of a brutal request. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's good that folks are starting to stand up. I know some celebrities who have been pro-Israel before are turning on them too. So, I mean, there is some positive news out there. I think, there was that thing last week where they were trying to spread this idea that Trump had, ignored Netanyahu and there was a rift and the whole thing. And now people kind of are pretty confident that was just a publicity stunt, but we'll see. I mean, it's still, any kind of news is good. And I think with the urgency of the starvation happening, that, we need to see actions right away. And yeah, it's obviously extremely urgent over there. Millions of people starving right now.
Yeah, and may I remind you that before the Nakba in 1948, and even before the genocide, they were kind of, before the Nakba, they were fine. They all got along fantastically.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't bring up, which somebody was telling, I watched it and then somebody reminded me how good it was Bree's story, where she interviewed this guy and gave the whole history. Zionists have been around since like the 1500s.
Mm.
And it was a way to get Jews out of their country, which that's racist. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned a couple times that New York Times article where they just talked about the fact that, they were going to colonize Palestine. Colonize used as a word as a positive. So 1899 New York Times. So,
when has that word ever been?
It was because, again, that's the mentality. That's the mentality where everyone thought it was okay that we could slaughter Native Americans in this country. I mean, that's the mentality. It's what, people use the term white supremacy all the time now, and people, it's a trigger for some people, but that's really what it's about. It's that basic concept that there are white people out there that think they're better than anybody else, and to the point that they have no issue with killing. I mean,
yes,
that's white supremacy.
Yep. And you just got to look around the world and the country and see that is still
see the
a
evidence.
thing.
Yeah, see the evidence.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we can move on to the next one.
Okay.
And this is kind of related. into our country. People are getting fired. They're getting picked up off the street. There was a little good news, which we didn't have time to put in the show, that Mahmoud Khalil got to put his or see his wife and his 1-month-old baby. But this lady was fired from Emerson College for speaking out about Palestine. But I refuse to be silent. Let me see. What is her name? By Anna Feeder?
Yeah, the articles by Anna Feeder, yes.
Okay, what is the lady's name? I'm sure I'll run into it here in a minute. After 17 years at Emerson College, I was fired for my activism in support of Palestinian liberation. My last day was October 11th, 2024, just over 1 year into the genocide in Gaza and ongoing ethnic cleansing in occupied Palestine. Over my time at Emerson, I established my professional home, weathering the financial crash and the pandemic. During my time, I helped organize the professional staff with the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, and served my peers as a steward. I started a free public film series with a strong focus on social justice cinema that I successfully ran for over 12 years. Despite facing continual budget cuts, most years that required me to maintain my popular program with fewer resources, the series flourished. Well, and I won't read the whole thing, but she's done a lot of work, and where she ran into a problem was when she wanted to show the movie Israelism.
Yeah.
And next thing you know,
yeah, she's gone.
She's gone. Where does it say her name?
That's her. I think she's writing.
Writing it herself.
She wrote it in Mondoweiss, right? It's her.
Okay.
Experience.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. And
Anna Feeder. Yeah.
And there was also the video going around of the guy who was doing agriculture work, and ICE came and grabbed him, and he's like, I'm a citizen. They pulled him against this fence. The video's going viral right now. He's a U.S. citizen, and they just took him out of his job and I don't know if he was released yet, but they are, bringing the case. He is a citizen. He's a U.S. citizen. He might look Mexican, right? But so the ICE went and grabbed him. I mean, it's just what's happening in this country is so horrific, and it's shocking that there isn't. I mean, I think again we've brought this up before. The courts, they keep threatening, but nobody has gone to jail yet for contempt of court. No one yet. And I hope he sues. I mean, I certainly hope he sues.
Well, I've read that is the Trump strategy, just to throw everything out there as fast as you can, break everything as fast as you can. Don't worry about the laws. Just do whatever you feel like you can get done right now. And then it ties up the courts. And then in the meantime, they keep getting to do these things.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So until somebody actually stops them, and I would say that's up to us. General strike will stop their bullshit. 100%. Because if we crash the economy overnight, we could do it in a couple of days, probably.
Right.
If everybody does it. And somebody posted this lady talking about a general strike on our Illinois Green Party group.
Okay.
Just saying, why do you think they made it illegal? Because it's worked in the past.
Yes.
Yeah. So they wanted to take that option off the table. But if everyone does it, they can't throw all of us in jail.
Right. And again, the definition of general strike is that it's a strike that's outside of this traditional strike setting, which is a union. So general means everyone.
Yeah. And, ICE is profiling people on race. Since when is that cool?
Yeah. Right.
One other thing that I just remembered, my good friend was driving home from St. Louis yesterday, and she was stopped just outside of Murfreesboro for a safety check. That's illegal.
Yeah.
There's no probable cause to stop you.
Right.
And my friend is a boss, so she told the cop that. I used to be a cop. You're not supposed to do this. And he's just like,
yeah, no, it's a terrible This country is really,
Yeah.
it's in bad
Yeah.
shape.
Yeah, and that's why I think I'm not going to fly anymore too. I'm tired of the surveillance.
Oh
I mean,
my
how many
God.
shoe bombers have they caught
Yeah. No.
in the 20 years we've 24 years that we've had this
Yeah.
basically put in place? It's just a way to clamp down on the population.
Right.
Yeah, and who was that? George W.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
Patriot Act, and all the lawmakers there.
Right. Right.
So here's where Trump's at and State Department. So that's State Department asked for evidence of genocide against white South Africans from Decensored News. Like what?
Right.
U.S. President Donald Trump recently said that a genocide is taking place against white Afrikaner farmers in South Africa, a claim which has been widely and often strongly disputed, including by Human Rights Watch and a very long list of people. Trump has nevertheless signed an executive order cutting off aid and assistance to South Africa and decreeing that U.S. shall promote the resettlement of Afrikaner refugees, which his State Department and Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, have since implemented. They're implementing executive orders.
Yeah.
So what is Congress doing?
Right.
Can I ask?
Yeah. Exactly.
While Trump's executive order accuses South Africa of rights violations and other alleged injustices, it also explicitly lays out what is likely one of Trump's actual primary motives. Among his list of grievances, South Africa has taken aggressive positions towards the United States and its allies, aka Israel.
Yeah.
Including accusing Israel, not Hamas, of genocide in the International Court of Justice.
Right.
So there it is.
And I like, there was a meme going around that said, okay, if people are escaping a genocide, how come there was only 59 of them? It's like, how bad is your genocide if only 59 people want to leave it? Yeah, it's pathetic. Just absolutely.
Well, and who is a white South African? Elon Musk.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Made it, from my understanding, made his money in mines. You know, it's blood money.
Yeah.
So that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Sorry.
No, that's right.
I have disdain for him. And you know what? Stop calling it X. Just call it Twitter. Just to spite him.
I know. Exactly. Well, again, Twitter was it's a much better name. Everybody remembers it. The bird. I mean, it's stupid to call it a letter.
And it was friendly. X is like.
X is pretty brutal.
What does he think he is in the Power Rangers?
It's been shutting down a lot the past day or so. I don't know what's going on. They're having problems.
Really?
Yeah, it's been crashing. Yep.
Yes.
I'm still there.
Crash it and make it over. Can we talk to the guy that used to own Twitter and say, can you take it back, please? Oh man. So we're going to welcome people that probably are fine. And, not do anything about people that are being starved and murdered. Good job, government.
Right.
Yeah, we are moving kind of fast, aren't we? 14 minutes. We're already on number 4.
Well, that's good. No. We got a lot to get through.
Yeah, we do. So I want to spend a little time on this one, though. Lawmakers seek to reverse Illinois law penalizing companies that boycott Israel.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we have that. Ugh.
Yeah, I didn't even know we had that law.
Right.
So some people tried to do a good thing, right? A growing number of states lawmakers are moving to repeal a 2015 Illinois law penalizing companies that boycott Israel to protest its policies towards Palestinians. Amid concerns about Israel's ongoing war in Gaza, lawmakers in Springfield supporting human rights for Palestinians have increasingly signed on to legislation opposing the decade-old anti-boycott law. But so far, these bills have stalled. That's what they do.
And again, every single press place calls it a war. It's not a war.
I know.
One side has an army, the other side has a couple of guns. It's the bombing of a concentration camp. That's what it is.
Yep. Yep. So if you want to move down, wavering support, I want to read that part.
Okay.
Go down a little more.
Yep.
Wavering support. Oh, there it is. Okay. While President Trump supporting Republicans and right-wing activists rail against a bipartisan national bill that would toughen penalties for boycotting Israel's government, Illinois Democratic supermajority legislature appears hesitant to put an end to its 2015 anti-boycott law, which passed unanimously in both houses.
Democratic supermajority, and they don't want to get rid of this. Yes.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, it just shows, you know, the Democrats at the state level, you know, certainly they're not, you know, in the position to be sending the bombs, but they are in the position to support the sending of bombs to kill Palestinians. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. We have Israel bonds, like 30 million or something here.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Why aren't we investing in here? Why are we investing in Israel?
Exactly.
I mean, they're criminal. So Illinois bought Israel bonds to support a criminal regime. Like, what?
Horrific.
Yeah. It's just so much bullshit.
It's the AIPAC/Zionist control of our government. It's in Illinois too.
Even in Illinois.
Yep.
And supermajorities, they can pass whatever they want to pass. That's the super part of supermajority. They don't have to ask anyone. They just have to decide and it's done. Because they have the power to do so. What's keeping them from doing it? AIPAC.
Yep.
More than likely. Because they know they will get replaced. And what does that say about our country, that our politicians are so vulnerable to a foreign power's money?
Yeah.
AIPAC works for Israel. They don't work for the United States.
Right. Yeah, that's the basic problem with the politics in this country, is that we have two political parties who do just the bidding of their donors, strictly the bidding of their donors. Turns out their donors are AIPAC. I mean, obviously there's the big pharma and the military-industrial complex, but that's tied into AIPAC too. But yeah, so that is the problem that we have to fight, and it will take a revolution to do that.
Good segue, Scott.
Thank you for that.
You're so awesome. So, yeah, well, I did want to show one thing which demonstrates how a revolution, I think, can happen, because revolution is not necessarily violent. It is just overthrowing what's happening, changing it.
Right. A radical change is a revolution. Yep.
Yeah. Go look up the definition of the noun revolution. It doesn't say anything about shooting people or whatever. So landslide for did not vote from environmental voter. Can you find that one? Let me read a little bit of that. Landslide 2024 was landslide for did not vote. There's a cool map on there.
Oh, okay.
Although Donald Trump only beat Kamala Harris by a razor-thin 1.6% margin in the popular vote, the 2024 election was in many ways a blowout if you consider all the ballots that could have been cast but weren't. Using the data from University of Florida Election Lab, a new analysis by the Environmental Voter Project, which is where you can find this, shows that 85.9 million eligible voters skipped the 2024 general election, far surpassing the 76.8 million ballots cast for Donald Trump or the 74.3 million for Kamala Harris. So that gold part, which includes Illinois, California,
I'm surprised.
Texas, Hawaii, probably New York. I can't really see over there, but
yeah, New York. Yeah.
Yep. Basically the entire southern half of the country, except Florida.
You know, that's it. I hadn't thought of it. That's kind of interesting. Why is the South not voting, including Illinois, New York, and California, the blue states, and then the North at least are getting their act together? Oh, you know what? Populations. New York, Illinois, California are the three
Oh,
largest populations.
large populations. Texas.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
These are the people that, should they become engaged, can win whatever they want to win.
yeah. Right. Good, great
They
point.
will make the decision on who runs the country. And if you think about it like this
Great point.
too, there's over 300 million people in the country. So if you add this up, yeah. So 85, 76, 74, I'm not a mathematician, but that looks like 200 million or so, 200 something million people are eligible to vote but didn't vote. So Trump got elected on a minority of votes.
Right. Yep. No, I mean that's an astounding map there. That really is. That's a shocker. That really is.
Yeah. So when you're door knocking and people say, "Oh, I'm not interested in politics," like we need to get them interested. Say, well, said 85.9 million Americans.
Yeah. Right.
So if you just be interested for a minute, we could change everything.
Mm.
And then find out what they care about. I mean, maybe they don't relate some of their issues to politics, but your working conditions, what else? Like whether or not you can form a union, how your time off it works, your sick leave, your health care. Can you even take time off if you're sick? And a lot of people get points and get close to being fired just for being sick.
Right.
Or taking care of their kids.
Yep.
Just everything, the food you eat, whether it's grown healthily or not, all that is political. And people don't relate it, but it is.
Yes, everything is politics.
Everything.
Absolutely. So yeah, I guess I pre-did my little segue. I was jumping ahead, but yeah, we were going to discuss the difference between reform and revolution, because it's a really important concept. It really is kind of the question because of the urgency of our situation. I mean, through almost every subject, the emergency of our situation is dire. I mean, climate catastrophes happening. And there's no doubt that the country is collapsing and you see it in so many ways in our insane, sick foreign policy that we have, our inability to keep up with this massive spending on military that we do. I mean, it's
and that big beautiful bill
that passed the House now. Oh my God,
it's only beautiful for probably 0.01% of the country. It's going to be a nightmare for the rest of us.
Horrible.
You think it's bad now? Just wait.
Yeah.
So we don't have time to mess around, people. Let's go. So this is from Sabby Sabs, but she is talking about Richard Wolff's The Case for Revolution.
Yeah, and
from Democracy at Work.
She does show a clip of his piece that he did, and he gives a really good example of the issue of slavery at the time, and that there were reformers and people who wanted to make sure the slaves had better food and better housing, and not to break up the families, and those are all humane, good things. But that was the reformers at the time. The revolutionaries were like, no, we got to end slavery. That's what we have to do.
Done. Slavery should not exist.
Yeah.
Well, let's let Sabby get here. She's amazing, by the way.
She's great. So hopefully I got it at the right spot. We'll see.
It's home. Like it. I made it very clear on Jamal Thomas's show. I want to say it again here. When you see these things from Bernie and AOC, I once upon a time believed reform was going to work too. But after you see what the Democratic Party does and you realize the DNC is a corporation and you see how the money works and these people can't even get out of the primary to become the nominee, you see that the system is fixed. So there is no reform of the Democratic Party. It's been almost 10 years since Bernie ran in 2016. Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the rest of the Democratic Party are controlled opposition. They are not true opposition to the Republican Party. If they were true opposition to the Republican Party, they would be fighting strictly for the working class. You're not fighting for the working class if you're telling people to vote for the same establishment politicians in the Democratic Party that you're telling people to push back against. These people exist to prevent a revolution. AOC and Bernie Sanders exist to prevent some type of growth within a third party movement or any type of mass movement that is going to disrupt and break this system. They don't want to break it because they benefit from it. It's safer for them that way. It's easier that way for them to do it. If you go back to what Professor Richard Wolff said when he was talking about slavery, the people who wanted to reform it and the people who wanted to abolish it. Abolishing slavery at that time was not popular, but it was the right thing to do. And what the right thing to do is now, the way that this country is headed, the way that the working class is constantly falling lower and lower, the middle class is almost completely gone in this country, the way that billionaires have taken over and run so many things, the response right now is not reform. The response right now that is needed is said revolution, is said rapid radical change. That is what is needed now. And there are different ways that that can be done. That can be done totally outside of politics as a mass movement hitting the streets, etc. Or that could be done as trying to break the duopoly through a third party, through independence, whichever path you think is best for you. But the path that we have been on, as long as I am alive, is not helping out people who are working class, is definitely damn sure has not been helping out the Black community. The time right now is for a revolution. It's not for reform. And there's a lot of comfortable people who still want you to reform because they benefit from it monetarily. There are comfortable people that have an audience capture that want you to do reform because that's what their audience is. And they can't bear to lose all the liberal simps in their audience or all the, conservative diehard like voters in their audience, because that is what is their money bag. So they need to keep telling you, push within the Democratic Party. It's been almost 10 years. These people telling you, so you got to try to fight back. We got to push them, got to put pressure on these people. How can you put pressure on a corporation that owns the politicians? How can you put pressure on politicians that are owned by AIPAC? For all the people who say third parties keep losing, they can't win, you can't beat AIPAC. I don't see you beating Kofi. I don't see you making out of a primary.
Right.
Oh my God, I love her.
Yes.
I love her so much.
Yeah.
All my thoughts, but she says them much better. And she's so mad. You can just see the fumes coming off.
And she's being real honest. And people, you need to recognize that all of the YouTube space out there that keeps wanting to just keep discussing the Democratic Party and did they make a mistake and did they do it wrong and could they do better and could they that's all a grift. It's all a grift. They are probably directly getting paid, or if not, just through, they know, as Sabby said, their audience, they're going to keep going for their audience and they are not going to break through. I mean, you saw Crystal Balls, for like a day, she was for Palestinians, right? That went back because, they're playing a money game and they have to keep their subscribers and their interests. So they're going to keep pushing that Democratic Party when it's true. There is no hope there. There's no reason for that.
Yeah, the Democratic Party has been bought the same way the Republicans have been bought. Republicans are just open about it. Democrats try to lie to you and say, nah, not really. But then all you got to do is go to like Open Secrets or somewhere and see who donates. And then you understand why they don't move on things, And I'm not mad at the Democratic voters. You thought they were the best shot. I used to think that too. Yeah. But, what is it? Enlightenment is a very painful process. But in order for us to change this, and we are in a crisis mode right now, what Trump is doing with Project 2025, I know a lot of people were, worried about it. Well, here it is, baby. And it ain't good.
No.
This big, beautiful bill is going to screw all of us. All
Right.
of us.
And we were stuck in a situation. Not really, we're actually not stuck, but people think that we were stuck with having to pick between Project 2025 and genocide, because there is no doubt that Kamala Harris was going to continue the genocide as Biden was doing. So those were the two choices that people thought they had. They actually did have a third. It was the Green Party and Jill Stein. People don't recognize the fact that all you got to do is vote for them and they win. It's so simple. But they are all thinking, well, yeah, but nobody else is voting for it. If you just stop that mentality, then that all changes. And the one point I was going to make about Richard Wolff talked about the issues around slavery. And then Sabby made the commentary about, these are the solution. And yes, there's plenty to be critical about President Lincoln. But the thing about it was, he was the third party. He was the Green Party of his time. And I'm sure that also influenced him to take the more revolutionary step of Emancipation Proclamation than just going with the reformers. There was one senator that had won in the previous election from the Republican Party, but that was the very beginning. And then Lincoln won the presidency as a third party. And I think that's critical to understand that in our own history, that if we get the third party in, they will make the radical revolutionary changes, whereas the Democrats the Republicans would never dream of. And so that it's really important to understand that in that part of history, they don't want to emphasize that Republican was third party.
Yeah. Yeah. When I realized that, I feel like I kind of knew it tangentially, but like, oh my gosh, Lincoln was third party.
Right.
Like, so there is precedent.
And
I mean, they've been working to try to prevent that from happening ever since, because they love slavery just moved to the prisons. Let's be honest.
Right. Yeah.
They had to put that phrase in there. You couldn't do it in the prisons either. But yeah, I mean, like Butch says, Democrats are going to go the way of the Whigs because they enable the Republicans to do bad things. They set it up.
Right.
Like they got it all ready, and then Republicans go in and drop the hammer,
Right.
Like Trump couldn't be doing these things if I'm not sure if I remember this correctly, but executive orders, didn't they start with Bill Clinton? Oh,
that's a good question. I don't know.
It just occurred to me. But how long have we been doing executive orders? And Trump is just throwing them out like left and right.
Right.
I want you all to consider one thing. Okay. What kind of executive orders do you think Jill Stein would have done?
Exactly. We know, because she told us she would environmental emergency declaration, immediate environmental emergency declaration. Absolutely.
And
healthcare.
I was going to say, and when I got the chance to actually speak to her right before the DNC convention, part of the March for Medicare for All, we discovered there's a section in the Social Security Act, and the number's escaping me right now, but basically it's a clause in there, 1881A, there it is, that they gave healthcare to this town, Libby, Montana, because of an environmental disaster. So they just decided the whole town got healthcare. Boom.
Okay.
So we can use the Social Security Act to give us all healthcare. Wouldn't you say 70,000 people dying a year is kind of a healthcare emergency?
Absolutely. Absolutely emergency. Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's not getting any better.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's a massive undercount.
Right.
So, and I did see that there's kind of this national push for Medicare for All happening on the 31st.
31st. Yep. There is an event going on. In Chicago, there's one downtown, but I think that there's other ones going across the state. And if you go to ilgp.org/events, I have it there on the events page. So,
okay.
Yeah, there is a march. It's a Saturday. I think it's 2. Well, no. Because today at 2, there's a Palestine downtown. I can't remember the time, but yeah, there is one May 31st.
So many marches, so little time, right?
I know, exactly.
We have a bunch of comments, but I want to put a plug in for our little ticker down here.
Yes.
We are only 10 people away from reaching our goal of 500. Yay!
Yay.
Then
Yes,
we'll just make a
please
new goal. We'll
subscribe.
celebrate for a week and then we'll make a new one. But
Yeah.
so if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, please do so. And if you have, pass it along. Oh, Michelle, here's the last comment. Wow, I used to live in Libby.
Oh, wow. Oh, all right. Okay. Yep. Social Security Act. Yep. Oh, you know what? And I also want to give a plug to an Illinois Green Party person, Chris Ero, because Sabby Sabs showed his tweet. So I'm going to also show it for you. It's a little later in this episode of Sabby. So yeah, I got to give Chris Ero of Illinois Green Party a plug here.
People who want to do this and da-da-da. Civil rights activists were also speaking to a small group of people because the majority of Americans didn't support it. Slavery abolitionists were speaking to a small group of people. But groups grow. I want to wrap it up with this. I thought this was pretty base from Chris Arrow. The house is burning down, and Bernie is saying, just go across the hall to another room instead of leaving the house. Wake up, people. He's telling you who he is, who the Democratic Party is. Believe him. Save yourselves.
Yep. So way to go, Illinois Green Party, Chris. Way to go. And that's perfect. That's just absolutely perfect. Yep. It's a burning house, and Bernie says, go to another room. You'll be fine. Yep.
Yeah. So our friend Chaz is here. He's made lots and lots of comments. You know,
Well,
you can't expect something to like come to you prepackaged, guy. Like, you got to build it. Because prepackaged stuff is brought to you by name your corporation.
right.
You know, is that just doesn't work like that. You want a people powered movement? Yeah, we're mad at the Republicans and the Democrats. Of course we are. They're bought off. I love this. Big beautiful bill is just a jagged little pill.
Yeah.
I love it when things rhyme. But Chaz says we always had executive orders. I guess me, thinking about Clinton and line item veto. Yeah, okay. But have they been used so much? I don't remember them being used this much.
I don't know the history, honestly.
Yeah. Chess. Oh, he does not have friends.
We're your friends, Chess.
We can be your friends. It's fine. Yep. Oh, right. So Kamala didn't even have her own thoughts and beliefs.
It's kind of true. I mean, the thing is, that's if you look at I don't look at the Republican politicians as much. I will admit that. But if you look at the ones who rise in the Democratic Party, their biggest talent is doing what they're told. I mean, that is their big talent. And they look for the ones who really will do it. Pete Buttigieg is a good example. They will just do what they are told. And Kamala, I know, and the thing about at AOC too, to a great degree, they get made fun of because they do word salads. And the reason they do word salads is because they don't have the original concept in their hearts. They don't know it as themselves. So they just have to throw out the words that they know they're supposed to say. And sometimes Kamala gets a little stuck because they expect her to keep talking. And so she just repeats the words and puts them in different order. So you are kind of correct. That's a Kamala trait. Word salad. Yeah.
Well, it's because there's no authenticity there.
Right.
And Green Party's got authenticity in.
Well, right.
For days.
I mean, that's the thing, is that people who are here understand the why they're here, and they understand it's not a place where they're going to make a lot of money on the side with the deals and stuff. They know that that we're here on principle. And you're right, we haven't, won big elections yet. But again, Lincoln was a third party. It was a brand new party. Republicans were a brand new party.
And we've had hundreds of Greens elected, but just like locally.
Yep.
So for all the people that say you don't do local, well, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Well, that's propaganda that gets spread around. Yeah. That's propaganda. All the, a
propaganda rinse repeat.
Well, a 5-second Google search would show you that's not true, but that, it's propaganda.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Counterpunch article. Trump is trying to reverse the New Deal. Yeah. At the end of World War II, the U.S. employer class, the capitalists, faced overlapping threats, both domestic and foreign. On the domestic side, a coalition of the Congress of Industrial Organizations, CIO, I believe that's the AFL-CIO part of CIO, two socialist parties, and a communist party had grown large and powerful during the 1930s Great Depression. Together, they pushed hard and successfully for domestic policies collectively known as the New Deal. So what's the New Deal? For those that aren't aware, most of our social safety net that we have that keeps getting demolished.
Yeah.
These policies included the establishment of the Social Security system, the unemployment compensation system.
There you go. Right.
The nation's first minimum wage, and a federal jobs program that employed millions because jobless rate, I think, was 25%. Guess what? We're there now.
Yeah.
They don't report it that way, but it's true.
I'm forgetting the names of the organizations, but yes, we had federal jobs programs. I mean,
WPO.
Yep. There you go. Yeah, we absolutely need those types of things. We have to have those.
When the private sector isn't getting the job done, the government has to step in and employ people so they can feed their families.
Right.
So along with several other programs, the New Deal represented a leftward shift of state priorities. For the employer class, worse than those spending shifts were the corresponding changes in federal revenue sources. Sharply raised taxes on and borrowing from corporations and the rich funded the New Deal's massive programs. For the employees, this reallocated the nation's income and wealth from the top to the middle and the bottom, as against the dominant trickle-down economic policy, thank you, Reagan, that were in place before and soon after it. The New Deal represented an experiment in trickle-up economic policies. Once World War II was over, the employer class wanted nothing more than to undo the New Deal and bring back trickle-down policies.
Right. Yep, it's been that way ever since. And Reagan was certainly one of the ones who really, really accelerated that. Yep.
Yeah. They hired an actor.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
They're used to reading a script. Apparently I am not. I go off script a lot. So.
Well, no, but that's a good point. I mean, and Kamala and people are just acting. It's an act, right? That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so they had a really cool thing. It's called Relief, Recovery, Reform. Let me see if I can see this a little clearer. Moved away from laissez-faire, adopted a Keynesian approach. When such great unemployment exists, we should do that now. People can't survive. I can't remember. Oh, it was Sabby again. She had a map about, and I spread that around too, about how much you would need to afford like a 2-bedroom apartment.
Oh my God.
There's almost nowhere in the country that you can afford it on a minimum wage salary.
Nope.
For 40 hours a week. It just doesn't exist.
Right.
So they did, let's see. So the New Deal, the government has to start employing people. Employment money to spend on goods, greater demand equals factories and businesses open. See how that works? Emergency Banking Act. They had Guaranteed bank deposits. So they can't just rip off your money with no recourse. 500 million allocated for emergency food and housing called FERA, which I hadn't heard of that one.
No.
Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC, employed young people to plant forests, build dams, etc. Public Works Administration
There you
employed
go.
men on roads, government buildings, etc. And Works Progress Administration, WPA,
There you go.
created work for unemployed people in the arts.
Yes. Yes.
So much in there. Just go look up the New Deal. I mean, maybe we need a new Deal.
You're right. Right. Well, Green New Deal was taken, obviously, name from New Deal. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And it just brings to mind that, when Martin Luther King got in trouble was when he started talking about an economic bill of rights.
Yes. And
they don't want you messing with their paycheck.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. So Trump is trying to completely destroy it. Good job.
Yeah, he's trying to destroy, the entire government really is what he's after. And as we'll talk about with our next story is that, the dismantling of government, it's just the complete opposite of what this country should be doing. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and bring up the Rolling Stone. We got like 14 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I really want to get to some of the other stuff. This is the main thing I was excited about. This leads us up to our Dust Bowl.
Yes.
So GOP senator begs for disaster aid as FEMA SNUBS another red state. So just because you're Republican, do you think that you're safe? I don't think so.
No.
Oh, you have to subscribe. Senators grilled Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem today over her management of FEMA.
Well, the thing is, again, climate catastrophe is here. And as we saw, with this spring season of tornadoes, again, records broken everywhere. There was a day in March that I think it was either 117 or 171 tornadoes in the one day. There was a weather system that had a tornado, and I think it might have been a couple, go 500 miles across the country. And it just kept dropping the tornado. London, Kentucky is a disaster. St. Louis, 7,000 homes smashed. It is an absolute disaster. And at the same time, Trump doesn't want to do emergency declarations because that means they have to give out FEMA money and FEMA support. And he doesn't want to do that. He wants to end FEMA.
And the Department of Education and this and that and the other.
Right.
Y'all, Trump is a smash and grab. Just saying. It's a kleptocracy now. They are trying to destroy everything they can, fire as many people as they can, and then give all that money to billionaires.
Right.
So you want to bring up the next one? 5 days after tornadoes hit, Kentucky survivors ask, where's FEMA?
Right.
5 days after deadly tornadoes ripped through southern Kentucky, killing at least 19 people and injuring dozens more, the federal government has still not arrived. Governor Andy Beshear has asked for an emergency declaration from President Donald Trump, which would trigger Federal Emergency Management Agency or FEMA assistance.
Right.
That FEMA assistance can help pay for damages to personal and government property, but more importantly, it brings FEMA personnel immediately into affected areas. They can help provide such necessities as tarps for buildings that may still be livable but have some roof or other structural damage. Beshear spoke to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on Saturday, almost immediately after the storms. Quote, they vowed to help, Beshear said. Saturday, they showed real empathy for our people. I think they have it by now in certain parts of Kentucky. I don't know if they did the whole thing, but
No. And the thing is, as it just turns out, these weather patterns, they primarily, at least for the spring and the tornadoes, they primarily are hitting red states. And it's, that's one thing that at least we had in the past was FEMA coming to help. And I know the first big one was Katrina, where FEMA failed. but it's kind of been a failure ever since. And again, it's just this idea that our country is in decline. We're going in the wrong direction. We send money to Israel and we send money to Ukraine instead of helping our own. And that is a disaster to do that. And this is such a blatant example of this, that we don't have FEMA help. I mean, it's just horrific what's happening.
Yeah, the failure is a choice by our government not to help its people.
Right. And, here comes hurricane season. Started, I think, in the Pacific already, and maybe a week or two in Atlantic. And, every year, these just been the horrific hurricanes. This is, every year it gets, even though there's a little change up and down, overall pattern worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's coming to a neighborhood near you.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our next story, the one that really got me down the rabbit hole. From Dust Bowl to Life, time to regenerate our nation from the ground up. So anybody that lives in Illinois, the last bank of storms, there was a tornado that came kind of close to my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I think that was just last week, but there was a huge dust bowl thing, dust cloud that happened. It caused a wreck. Let me just read a little bit of this. A wall of dust rose over the heartland of Illinois, claiming lives and reminding us, when we abuse the soil, our safety and security suffer. Regenerative organic agriculture is the path forward. So this is from Kucinich Report, and this is Elizabeth Kucinich, Dennis's wife. In the spring of 2025, central Illinois was swallowed by a wall of dust so dense it erased the horizon and lives along with it. Vehicles collided in a deadly chain reaction on Interstate 55 as visibility vanished and the dust became a visible cry from the land, a desperate signal of the devastation being wrought upon it. This is not a natural disaster. It was the consequence of decades of extractive farming practices that leave the land bare, lifeless, and vulnerable. It was a warning that when we abuse the soil, we unravel the systems that protect our safety, our health, and our future.
And I want to say that, the thing about this climate catastrophe that we're living through is that, well, we live through it, is that, things that hadn't even been thought of, like a dust storm in Chicago was the most bizarre thing. And you wouldn't have thought, when you think of climate catastrophe, you're like hurricanes, tornadoes, right? You didn't think dust storm in Chicago. And the thing is, again, it's kind of always a combination. They could talk about the soil quality has not been kept properly for decades. But then it's also these massive straight line winds that we didn't really ever see before. Not the way it's happening now. These massive winds, all the fire. Part of that story with all of the incredible fires are the massive winds that we're getting. Mm-hmm. So it's a multiple things combined to cause these disasters. And it was weird. I mean, I'm right on the lake in Chicago. But you stood outside and you could feel, you had to close your eyes. And I wasn't even in the worst of it by any means. It was much worse west and south. But and you're trying to hold on so you don't fall over.
And how close is farmland to you?
You don't have to, I guess you don't have to go too far. I mean, the development over the decades has kind of pushed it out, but it's just the idea that it came from all the way across the state. It wasn't, it wasn't just in Chicago. It was just across the state. But yeah, we've never had, it came on the phone, dust emergency. We're like, what? What is this?
Like,
what is a dust emergency? It didn't even make sense, But again, I'm laughing about, climate catastrophe.
Well, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So
yeah.
I want to read a little more of this because it's really good.
Okay.
And thank you, Elizabeth Kucinich. You're amazing. The land is sending a message, and if we fail to listen, the dust will only rise. Nearly a century ago, our nation faced a similar reckoning. During the 1930s, can you imagine? Great Depression, Dust Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, sounds familiar.
What a tie-in.
What is it I like to say? History doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme.
Yeah. Wow.
During the 1930s, the Dust Bowl decimated the Great Plains. Plumes of dust reached the steps of the Capitol, and black blizzards blotted out the sun. Out of that devastation came a visionary response. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, understanding that healthy soil was the foundation of national security and human health, launched one of the most ambitious environmental recovery efforts in history. He created the Soil Conservation Service, now the Natural Resources Conservation Services, and established a network of local soil and water conservation districts across every county in America. That'll get the job done, and that's back when Democrats had a bit of a backbone.
Well, and there's the famous quote. I'm not going to have it exactly right, but where Roosevelt was asked about that, and he said, "Capitalists, I saved you. I'm not destroying you with the New Deal." It's because the pressure was tremendous, and people like Eugene Debs, who was running for president in the Socialist Party. I can't remember if it was the Communist or Socialist Party, but just the pressures from those socialist and communist parties also got Roosevelt to do something for the people, because he could see that it was all collapsing. So, the pressure is a big part of it, without a doubt.
Yeah. I'm going to do oh, geez. Michelle, let's see. Our farm in coastal Texas flooded 2 of 3 years. That's another thing that's happening right now. The farms are flooded.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We are in Refinery Row along the coast from Brownsville, Texas to New Orleans. Climate change has already devastated lives and land.
Yep. I mean, it's here. It is really here.
Yeah. Brian, what's up, Brian? I really believe Dem infiltrators are suppressing Green Party and protest actions. They become moderators and tell people to do nothing, and third parties, especially Greens, are a waste of time. Yeah.
I mean, there's, it's really, I believe that there are infiltrators in all spaces. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, you look at, the Black Panthers, right? And the guy was a traitor and had, gave Hoover and the Chicago police the location of Fred Hampton. So, yeah, I mean, there's infiltrators everywhere. And what you have to do is you have to just work. You just have to work in the space, recognizing you're going to have confrontations from people. Maybe they're honest, and maybe they are paid, or they are there to destroy. That's going to happen everywhere. And all you can do is just do the right work and keep trying and keep fighting.
Yep. So Chaz, I'm sorry, you're wrong. He's saying, oh, that stuff's always been going on. Well, it's not that it hasn't always happened. It's the amount, the severity, how often it happens. That farm has been in the family for over 100 years and never flooded. Wow. Not even close.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I know. It is.
Apparently, whatever you said, Scott, made her laugh. Made them laugh.
Well, it could be delayed. Well, I try.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't try and you're just laughing anyway. Are you laughing with me or at me?
Yeah, and Greens are fun people to hang out with. We don't take ourselves too serious. I mean, we have passion in our hearts, and there's a couple of things that you're just not going to argue us down on. But we do have, big hearts. And if you make a good argument, we'll listen, Yeah. We're good listeners. So our last story, Fields of Cincinnati. Okay. So this is Wisconsin, but I hear there's places in Illinois that are doing similar things. Taking care of the soil. A farmer-led learning center. So soil care. The principles of regenerative ag have become widely understood and accepted across all types of agricultural ecosystems. While the concepts have been refined over the years, these principles can be traced back to the 1980s when Bob Rodell, son of J.J. Rodell, founder of Rodell Institute, outlined an approach to agriculture that went beyond sustainability and was focused on improvement of the soil. During subsequent decades, these principles became known as the soil health or soil care principles. Many organizations add a 6th or 7th principle, but those additions don't deal with soil care. They deal with implementation of the 5 principles. So it's It's really simple. Soil armor. If we go back to before man's involvement of the management or manipulation of the soils, he says God's design, but we can
We can work
give
with
him
it.
that. That's fine.
Yes.
Always had the soils covered with living plants and or their residues. Soil is the skin of the earth, which is a living, breathing ecosystem. Just as man's skin does not want to be left naked and exposed to the elements, neither does the soil. Keeping the soil covered with residues and living roots protects the soil from wind, rain, and other forces that want to degrade it. And we screened down here in Shawnee Green Party the 2040 movie that talks about that. Healthy soil has air in it and worms and things.
Yeah.
The second principle is minimizing the disturbance. When it comes to the soils, there are 3 types of disturbance. The physical side of the soils, which tells if we have sand, silt, or clay, or the combination of types. When we use it or don't use tillage, that impacts the physical components of the disturbance. And chemical and biological side. This is a really good article. Maintain living roots.
And we have
Life-
the link. Do we have the
Go
link
ahead.
for people? Do we have the link for people?
It's all this is in the show notes. Everything we talk about, I put in the show notes on our
Okay.
YouTube channel.
Great.
And I think most of it hits Facebook, but Facebook limits you to 10, so I don't think I got the last one in there. But
Okay.
this one's in there.
Cool.
You maintain living roots, you maximize biodiversity, and you integrate the livestock, which also makes them healthier because they're eating the thing that they were designed to eat.
There you go.
They're designed to roam. It makes them happy and healthy. And if you so choose to eat meat, at least the cow or whatever will be a happy cow up until that day.
But let's try to be vegan, folks. No, I've tried. I've been off and on vegan. I swear I'm going to get back to it because I think
Vegan's hard.
It's hard, but it's important. I mean, God, I'm addicted to animal videos on Facebook, and I see them, and I'm like, I can't eat these things.
they're too cute.
They are. Oh my God. Okay, don't get me started.
Well, a full disclosure, I am like what you call a pescatarian, which is like the lowest level of vegetarian. I still eat fish, eggs, and occasionally a little bit of cheese. But I mostly buy organic, and I try to limit even my fish because now it's got mercury.
Yeah.
We just keep destroying stuff. That's what humans do, apparently. Yeah. Rich humans, not all humans.
That's a big part of the whole, we got to end our dependence on oil. And there is no doubt that it is the top 1% and above who uses a great percentage of it. It is also a class issue. People need to understand the environmental issue is absolutely a class issue because they are by percentage the ones that are wasting the most in exorbitant ways. So yeah. And right. I mean, like I said last time, politics around the globe are mostly about oil. It's really, really sad that we're fighting all these wars and everything. It's still about oil. We got to get off that. We have to move from it. We have to because, as we talked about in Texas with the floods, I mean, we have to change, folks.
Yeah. And Chaz kind of brings up something kind of funny, but I never really thought about this. I saw the video of the little black girl calling a cow a burger. Her mom said, "Don't call it that." And the little girl said, "I want cheese on mine."
Oh, well,
because people don't understand where their food comes from.
Well, I mean, I think I've talked to other people too. I had that same experience. I don't remember if I was 5 or 6 years old, and I put it together. Mom brought chicken on to eat, and I knew what that was, and I freaked. I mean, I just like, oh my God, I can't, And of course, it's your parents. You're not going to fight your parents when you're 5 years old, or at least I didn't. But it hit me really, really hard. I had the realization, and it really hit me.
Yeah. And music is a big part of that in my life. Like one of my early memories, I was probably like 4. So this is going to give away my age a little bit, but it was Joan Baez.
Okay.
singing 110 Soldier. I think it's Joan Baez.
Oh.
And I'm over at my great aunt's house, and I had a teenager second cousins. They're all boys except for one.
Yeah.
So they had all the tent stuff and the little army men and everything. And I'm sitting there on the bed playing with my little green army men, and then that song came on, and I got it.
Yeah.
And I swear I've been anti-war since I've been 4 years old.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm like, oh, this is not a good idea.
Right. Wow.
The last thing we have, we're really close.
Yeah.
We're a couple minutes over, so sorry. Allan Savory was the man that kicked off the revolution in sustainable land management, from which almost all regenerative ag practices have evolved. Savory's evolution. So that link is also in our show notes if y'all want to check that out. Just really good information on today's show. And this has everything to do with what we need to change in Illinois.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
There shouldn't be dust clouds enveloping Chicago and most of the central Illinois and causing wrecks on the freeway. That is allowing corporations to do whatever they want. And who is standing in their way? So far, no one, apparently.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so we need to get people in there that will stand in their way.
Right.
Not a bunch of rollover politicians that just okay. Will you give it to my campaign though? All right, do whatever you want.
Right. And that, we're the Green Party gets its name, right? So we are the right folks. We are the right folks for it.
Yep. So thanks everybody for coming. Scott's got a place to get to. And me too.
But I appreciate that folks come in and hear what we're talking about for the week. But that's our news of the week. And and we'll be back on Wednesday. We're here twice a week. Wednesday 7 p.m. Central, and then the show Saturday is noon Central.
Yeah.
So
and next week
subscribe.
Is Pete Karras. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great, right, from Wisconsin.
And then on Pete Karras and what's the other guy's name?
Oh my God, Chester Todd.
Chester Todd from Wisconsin. They are doing a GCCC. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Great show.
Thank you, Michelle.
They are doing a live stream, and you can sign up for it. I believe it's on. What did you put it on?
I haven't put up the event yet.
Well, it'll be there, but next Thursday, which is right before our usual Thursday hangout, Meet the Greens meeting. We're going to open it up and stream it for you all. Yeah. So we'll open up our meeting at 7 if you want to join an hour early and check out what they're doing, because it's national, but they're talking about Pete Karras, which will be our guest on Wednesday. Yeah. He's running for Secretary of State, and Chester Todd, I'm not sure what he's running for. Yeah, maybe governor. I guess we'll find out. Yeah. So, Greens are going for the states. Yes. And should we get California, Illinois, Wisconsin, Maryland, maybe New York? Nationals next, right? Right. And that's, again, history of the Republican Party. They got a Senate seat first, and then Lincoln was in. Yep. Exactly. Not that I want to emulate the Republicans, but the Republicans were pretty cool back then. I'm just saying. Not anymore. They used to be cool. They were those late 1800s kind of Republicans. And then they switched Southern strategy. Well, we won't get into that. It's fine. So join us on Wednesday, and then come to our Thursday hangout. And if you want to join early at 7, Scott will have that up soon. Yeah, on the events page again, ilgp.org/events. I'll get it up. Let me put up that banner real quick before we head out. Got the donate one. Yeah. Is it this one? Well, become a member, donate. It's ilgp.org. Right. So, here it is. Events. Ta-da. All right. All right. See you guys on Wednesday. Take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye now. Peace. Peace. An uprising, we're rising up. It's an uprising, we're rising up. It's an uprising. Fight the power. It's an uprising.